I'm still getting over that Ohio State game.
Sir,
I watched it 6 times on tape.
6 times?
Can I talk?
Get yourself through
6 times. I wanted to see what was the real problem. And I did not like what I was seeing, let me tell you. And I'll start off with Ryan Day needs to go read Bill Belichick's book on how to win football games. You got to take the other team's best player out of the game. We should have been double teaming Hutchinson every play. You can't let one player affect the whole game the way he did. Excuse me. Sacks, penalties. He made outside, inside moves. He just affected the game with his play, and that was all on Day. Then I'll start out with Day's preparation for that game. It was terrible. He went into that game thinking it was another game. I don't know if he knew who we were playing. Maybe he thought because we blew out Michigan State, we could just run these same slant plays and run Wilson down the sidelines once, and everything was going to be fine. I mean, he got down there 2nd and 3 on our first drive at the goal line. Why did he even try to pass? He brings in 16 and 34 on that jumbo look, and it ain't worked all year. And we're going against an assistant coach in the NFL that knows what he's doing. Harbaugh's assistants ate up our assistants. We got out coached that game. We got out prepared. It was like a heavyweight fight. They came out and hit us in the mouth, and that was it. I mean, what they averaged in the second half, 10 yards a carry.
Yeah.
We never changed our defense the whole game. We went with a base defense. We never brought the safety down in the box. Why didn't the linebackers even step up in the line just to confuse the offensive linemen? I mean, Haskell Garrett, how he was on the first team All Big Ten after I watched that game. I mean, he was standing up and turning his back on the offensive lineman and getting pushed out of the way. And another 35, whoever he is, he was just terrible. All the linebackers were terrible, but 22. All the linebackers were terrible, but 22. But his play calling, I mean, it was just terrible. But the 2 defensive coordinators, I mean, they were terrible. They never made one adjustment that whole game. We went with a base defense. I mean, they must have not been on the sidelines watching the game, or they were sick or something, because they were just doing the same thing over and over again. And they told us before the game what they were going to do. They said, we're going to sit back and rush 4 guys. We might blitz one in a while. We're going to try to run the ball. That's what they've done all year. But no, we're not. I don't know what we were doing. I still, after watching that game 6 times, I'm even more confused than I was when I watched it live. But those 2, we need to find a couple defensive coordinators. There's no way we can bring back those 2 guys. Not the way we played against. They did the same thing Oregon did. They shifted their line, and they got 4 or 5 linemen on one side. We got 3 linemen. I say, come on. And I've never seen guys go in untouched from inside the 5 on goal line defense. But we never had a goal line defense. Our defense at the goal line was our base defense. They went in reverse, and the guy didn't get touched till the 2-yard line. I mean, those defensive coordinators, no adjustments. They were just terrible. And I was in Buckeye Nation at the start of the year, and my prediction at the start of the year was Ohio State would have 3 losses. Now, these people hated me so much, and I got so much grief on that website, I had to close my account. I said they'd lose one of their first 2 games, and then I said they'd lose another Big Ten game, but I was thinking it was going to be Penn State. And then I'd say they'd lose their bowl game because they wouldn't make the college playoffs. And when we go to the bowl game, you got to figure Olave and Wilson definitely aren't playing. I mean, I don't know why any seniors going to go in the first couple rounds are going to play in a bowl game that's not in that championship playoff. So I don't know. They got us playing the winner of the Pac-10 the way our rush defense is. If it's Utah, look out. I mean, I think we'll have trouble no matter who we play in the bowl if we got guys sitting out. I don't know who's sitting out on the defense. I don't think it really matters. I mean, I just can't understand why we just never stacked the line. I mean, we never changed anything. I mean, you knew what we were going to get. Those guys were going to play the game of their life, and we just didn't match their intensity or their coaching or anything about it.
Well, let me say
it
this,
was
Willie.
just a total disaster.
And since you've watched the game 6 times, I want you to answer a question for me or just give me your observation, because I only watched it live. I haven't watched any replays or anything. Is that the difference that I would say in Ohio State's rush defense, Oregon versus Michigan, is that Michigan and Oregon were equally as successful and effective. But in just watching the game on TV, Ohio State was consistently out of position against Oregon. Oregon was consistently like running around a short end on the short side of the field, and you wouldn't see an Ohio State defender on the TV screen. Like, they were gashing them. They were out scheming them. This is my initial thought, just watching live, that they were out schemed more against Oregon, where they didn't know where they were. The assignments were their linebacker assignments were horrible against Oregon. They were lost. Against Michigan, they seemed to be in position. There were no like gaping ridiculous holes, or they weren't out of position. They just got bullied. Their defensive front just got pushed down the field.
The guys got stood up. The 2 tackles were terrible,
too high,
and the linebackers were terrible. And the offensive linemen were getting a free run at the linebackers in the second group there. So they're standing up to front 4, and then they're hitting the linebackers. And then these guys, before you know it, they're in the secondary. I mean, they ran that scheme a couple times. We were probably out of position maybe 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
But basically, they just ran the same thing. And usually a team will step the linebackers up and put them right up over the nose of the guards and confuse the blocking. That's what we needed to do. And we needed to bring a safety down in the box. And if that quarterback beat us, let him beat us. I mean, I'm confused why we never changed it. We're running a base defense on short yardage. I mean, we just were, I don't know. It was poorly. Our defensive coordinators didn't make any adjustments, especially after that third. I mean, we're down 14-13 at half just because of that last drive. We got 3 points that going down there because of his poor play calling. He's at the 45 with 3 timeouts. He doesn't call a timeout. They rush up, try to get a play and get a motion penalty and waste 20 seconds. And then he throws to Wilson in the end zone, which was clearly interference. I don't know how many times that guy has been grabbed in the end zone and hasn't got a call. He's probably been interfered with more than any receiver I've seen in college this year. But his play calling, and then we come out the second half, those 3 rush plays, I'm still trying to comprehend those. He ran 5, then we ran 2, and then he brings in 16 and 34 in our jumbo package, and they sub their big boys in, and the guy don't even get to the line. Mm-hmm. We're supposed to have the best wide receivers in the country. We got the biggest game of the year, and we come out the second half down a point and run 3 plays and punt. Now, to me, I don't know what kind of a genius offensive coach is going to call those plays. I mean, I lost a lot of respect for Kay and his play and his head coaching. And I never had any for those defensive coordinators. I say bring in Chris Spielman. They need to get somebody moving on that defense because it's not going to change. Those 2 guys, it's not going to change. I mean, those guys just didn't know what they were doing against Oregon, and they didn't know what. They just didn't make any in-game adjustments. And now we're going to go into a bowl, and I don't know. We're going to have trouble in any bowl we go to because I don't know. Have you heard who's sitting out any of the bowl games? I mean, we're going to definitely lose some of our best players.
Yeah, it hasn't come out, but sure. We'll find out soon.
I mean, I'm just. And Michigan celebrated like they won, like they won a Super Bowl. I mean, they wanted to beat us. I mean, that just shows you how bad they wanted to beat us and how bad we didn't want to beat them.
Willie, I think that game's bigger than the Super Bowl.
I mean, those guys are. I've seen epic proportions of this game, and I don't know. It was just a disaster, a coaching disaster, a player disaster. I can't believe it. I just couldn't believe the play call and those 3 runs to start the second half, and then they run 3 plays and go 81 yards.
Yeah.
Are you freaking kidding me?
Well, like you say, Willie, if Ohio State couldn't throw and catch the ball better than any team in the country, they would have gotten completely obliterated. Like when Stroud threw that 4th down touchdown pass to Henderson that barely made it over Aiden Hutchinson's fingertips, that made it 35-27. I thought there's still 4.5 or 5 minutes left in this game. I thought
the exact same thing.
If they steal this game, I'll think they have no business winning this game, but they still could steal this game. If they could just get a stop on defense, they can steal this game. But they couldn't stop them on defense.
And we knew they were going to run, and here we come out. That was the worst. That was the worst defensive line play. I mean, Haskell Garrett, I mean, I never seen him play that bad. I mean, I don't know. Maybe he was hurt or something, but their defensive interior and their linebackers, they were just terrible. But like you said, when we scored and cut it to 1 score, there is no excuse. You got to put 8 guys in the box. I don't care. Make this guy throw. They might get a holding penalty. We might tip the ball. You can't let them run the ball. That's all they wanted to do. And then we didn't do it. We should have had everybody on the line that last series. And we should have been double teaming Hutchinson the whole game. I don't care. I watch Bill Belichick do that every Sunday. That guy for the Browns, he's got the most sacks in the league. Cleveland, he goes against the Patriots. The Patriots got 2 guys on him from the time they ran on the field. I mean, you can't. I mean, Michigan. Joe Boo, all he did was run by the quarterback most of the game.
Well,
Hutchinson.
Yep.
How many false starts did we get?
A million.
We had 13 penalties and they had 2.
Yep.
And I bet half of them were guys moving.
Here's the deal, Willie, and then I'll need to let you go. Is that I think there are 2 I think there are 2 positions on the field where even if you've got, let's say, a first-round NFL player and the other team's got a first-round NFL player, you're still at a huge disadvantage. One's at wide receiver against a cornerback, because you can take a decent wide receiver against a first-round NFL cornerback, and it is still really hard to play cornerback and hold up. If the quarterback's got all day, a decent wide receiver is going to tear up a first-round NFL cornerback. It's just the nature of the position. It's impossible to cover those guys for a long period of time. It's the same thing at tackle versus a D end. Ohio State's got a first-round NFL left tackle, but he cannot block maybe the best defensive end in the country by himself.
Exactly. That's why we should have been double teaming him. I don't know why we did. I don't understand it. That's like walking the other team's best hitter when he comes up. What would be the worst thing that Michigan would happen to them? You double team that guy. They don't want you double teaming that guy. I mean, I don't know.
Have one
you
less.
Hit it right on
exactly.
The head.
Have one less player out in the route. We have the best receivers in the country. We don't need another guy in the route. Keep the tight end in.
I know. That would that tight end catch 1 pass? I mean,
like a 3-yard pass.
I mean, that was just poor. That was poor coaching and poor preparation. But I won't bore you anymore, Mark. But I'm not going to watch it again. I still got it, but I'm not going to watch it again. I'm just wondering. And I got one comment for these guys that think Nick Saban's such a great coach. Nick Saban is a great coach in college. He's out of school that recruits itself, and he's a great recruiter. But all I got to tell them is, how great was he in the NFL when you coach against equal talent? I don't think he did too well at Miami. He had to leave Miami. I mean, there's a difference between being an overall great coach and being a great college coach. I mean, and he had a decent team at Miami, but I mean, plus Alabama has been awful lucky this year. They've won every close game. I don't think we had a close game except the 2 we lost, did we? I mean, they barely beat Florida. They barely beat Auburn.
Yep.
Who else did they barely beat?
Arkansas,
They lost to A&M with the backup quarterback.
Yep.
Arkansas, they've LSU. That's 4 they barely beat. And I'll talk to you this about Chip Kelly. Why he wants to go to LSU, it has to be the money. I mean, does he know what kind of schedule he's going to face? At Notre Dame, they picked their own schedule. I mean, he should have told him, man, maybe I'll give me some more money, I'll stay there. That's got to be the dream job. I mean, at Notre Dame, you're going to get once they expand the playoffs, they're probably in every year, and LSU might not be.
All right, Willie. I appreciate it.
That's it. Sorry I took up so much of your time, but I've been trying to get through to tell you what I felt about that Ohio State game.
Well, thanks a lot, Willie. We always appreciate it.
And I'll tell you, you got the best show going because a lot of these other podcasts, these Michigan guys, why they think they can keep Ohio State fans coming and liking their podcasts with some of the stuff they say after a game like that, it really doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, I'll just let it go at that, Mark. Thanks a lot, and I'll be talking to you soon.
Sounds good, Willie. Have a good night.